The modern world is full of noise, constant pressure. We see these perfect lives online. We follow trends that disappear, and a quiet mind seems impossible to find. Almost 2,000 years back, there was a Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius. He dealt with his own storms, political games, leading armies in war. He kept a private journal. In it, he wrote something. It's a line that still lands today. You have power over your mind, he wrote, not over outside events. See that, and you find strength. That's the foundation, the resilient life. This isn't about ancient history. It's about usable wisdom. We're going to look at 30 principles from Marcus Aurelius. They can change how you think. By the end, you'll have a set of tools for handling chaos, for finding a calm that doesn't shake. We'll see how to change what you see, where to put your effort, how to build a character that holds no matter what happens outside. What if your peace of mind couldn't be broken? A lot of daily stress comes from trying to control what you can't. That tension, that exhaustion, it usually has one source. We're fighting battles we can't win. So that's the starting point, the first principle from Marcus Aurelius. The dichotomy of control. It's like the operating system for a resilient mind. The idea is simple, but it changes everything. Some things are within our power, and some things are not. What's within our power? Our judgments, our actions, our desires, our aversions. Everything else is external. The weather, the traffic, what people say about us, the outcome of a project. That's outside the circle. The Roman teacher Epictetus, who Marcus studied, said it plainly. Some things are up to us and some things are not. Our opinions are up to us. Our impulses, desires, aversions, whatever is our own doing, our bodies are not up to us. Our possessions, our reputations, whatever is not our own doing. The whole goal of Stoic practice is to put your energy only into that first category, the things that are up to you. And when you do, a weight lifts. Imagine planning an outdoor event. You've done the work, you're excited. Then the forecast says rain. The old way is to spend the week anxious, checking the weather app, frustrated at the sky. That's trying to control an external. The Stoic way is to see the weather isn't up to you. What is up to you? You can make a backup plan. You can decide to enjoy it anyway, with umbrellas, with a good attitude. You control your response. The event isn't ruined. Only your judgment of it can be. So here's a small exercise. Think about the past week. What 3 things caused worry or frustration? Maybe a rude comment from a coworker, a delayed flight, anxiety over an email you haven't received. Now take a mental pen and draw 2 circles. In one, write what was truly within your control. Your reaction to the comment, your preparation for the delay, the content and sending of that email. In the other circle, put everything else, the coworker's opinion, the airline's schedule, the other person's inbox. Just sorting them brings a kind of clarity. It shows where your effort went and where it was wasted. This isn't about giving up. It's about focusing your power where it actually works. Your peace of mind depends on seeing that difference. No event is good or bad on its own. That's the second idea. It comes right after the first one. You separate what you can control from what you can't, and then you see the one thing you always control. Your perception, that's where your reality gets built. The Stoics had a name for this, the discipline of assent. It's that pause before a judgment settles in. Something happens, a car cuts you off. The first feeling is just a flash, maybe anger, a heat, but between that event and how you end up feeling, there's a space. In that space you choose. You can add a story. That driver was rude, the world is unfair, now my day is ruined. Or you can see it plainly, a vehicle changed lanes. That's all, the suffering, the tight jaw, the bad mood that doesn't come from the car. It comes from the story you put on it. Marcus Aurelius wrote it simply. Remove the opinion and you remove the hurt. The event is just the event. The hurt is the opinion you lay over it. Take getting critical feedback on something you worked hard on. The raw data is just words, sounds. One perception calls it an attack, a personal failure, proof you're not enough. That story brings pain, defensiveness. Resentment, another perception, sees the same words as a map. It shows where the obstacles are, on a path you want to take. It's useful data, not a verdict on your worth. The event hasn't changed, only your judgment of it. And with that shift, your whole emotional reality changes. That's emotional freedom. It's not about being cold. It's about not being a slave to the first impression your mind gives you. You start to see the weight you carry isn't the world's weight. It's the weight of your own interpretations. So here's a small thing to try. Think of something from the last few days you called bad. A cancelled plan, a mistake at work, a hard conversation. Now strip away the drama. Describe it in the plainest language, like a camera recording facts. Not, my boss humiliated me, but my boss stated 3 points about the report's formatting during the call. Feel the difference. The first feels heavy, personal. The second is just information. From that neutral ground, you can ask a new question, not, why is this happening to me? But what can I constructively do with this? That shift is how you reshape your mindset. It turns obstacles into raw material, and it starts with seeing the story you tell yourself is the only thing you ever really own. Nietzsche gave it the name, but the Stoics were already living it. Amor Fati, loving your fate. That's the third principle, and it takes what we've built and shifts the goal completely. It's not just accepting what you can't control, it's embracing it, seeing every event, especially the hard ones, as not just something to get through, but as necessary. As fuel for who you're becoming. Marcus Aurelius wrote that line, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do." It's an inversion, a complete inversion of our instinct. We spend so much energy wishing reality were different. He says, align your wish with reality itself. See what happens as if you had chosen it, because in a way you can, and that changes resilience. It's not passive endurance anymore, not just gritting your teeth until it's over. It becomes active engagement. The obstacle isn't a roadblock, it's the path. Take a career setback. A project you poured yourself into gets cancelled. A promotion you wanted goes to someone else. The first reaction is loss, frustration, maybe a feeling of injustice. Amor Fati asks a different question. What if this closed door is actually steering you? Maybe that cancelled project frees your time. Freeze it for an opportunity you hadn't even seen. Or not getting that promotion keeps you in a role where you learn a crucial skill. A skill that becomes the foundation for your own business years later. We've all had these experiences, but only in hindsight. The breakup that led to a period of growth. The illness that reshaped your priorities. The job loss that forced a leap into something better. Amor Fati is about choosing that hindsight perspective now. In the moment, deciding that exactly this is what you need. This is how you forge strength. A metal isn't tempered by gentle warmth. It's hardened by intense heat and the sudden quench. Your character is similar. The easy times are pleasant, but they don't build the same depth. The challenges, the friction, the unexpected turns, these are the forces that shape you. So, what's one current challenge you could try to see not as a setback, but as part of your necessary path? Maybe it's a difficult person teaching you patience. Maybe it's a financial constraint fostering creativity. Don't just tolerate it, look for the thread. Ask, how could this be exactly what I need to learn right now? When you start looking for the gift in the difficulty, the entire texture of your experience changes. You stop fighting your own story. You begin to love it. Because it is yours and it is making you. Let's pull back, forget the day for a minute, the list, the messages, that small tension with someone. Pull your view up. Like a camera lifting off the ground, you see your street, then your city, then the whole continent. The planet becomes this blue marble, just hanging there in all that dark quiet. From there, your worries, your plans, the things that felt so urgent, where are they? That's the fourth principle, the view from above. It's a mental tool. For perspective, when the anxiety feels too big or an insult feels too sharp, this practice shrinks them back down. It creates a deep humility and a strange comfort, a connection. You see you're part of something immense. Marcus Aurelius used this all the time. He wrote notes to himself. Think of all of existence, he'd say, and the tiny sliver your life takes up. Think of all of time and the brief moment you get. He'd think about the generations before, all their hopes and dramas now silent, and the countless ones still to come. In that vast flow, his own troubles, the politics, the wars, they were just a small ripple. This wasn't to make life feel meaningless. It was to pull the poison out of the small stuff, to help him focus on what mattered in his short span. So how do you use it? It's a conscious shift. You're stuck in traffic, you're late, your heart is racing. Apply the view. This road has been here for decades. The cars are just a temporary swarm. The meeting itself, in the grand scheme of your life, will be a footnote. That doesn't mean the meeting isn't important. It means the panic about 5 minutes is out of proportion. The anxiety loses its grip, or a personal conflict. A harsh word from someone that you can't stop replaying. Zoom out. See that person's whole life, their own struggles and fears you know nothing about. See your own life stretching back and ahead. How much will this one comment matter in a month, in a year? Against the whole story, it becomes a speck. You can let it go. Here's a simple prompt. Think of your single biggest worry right now. Got it? Now picture yourself 1 year from today, looking back on this moment. How does that worry look from there? Does it look like a crisis or a step you got through? Then go further. Imagine a historian 100 years from now, writing about the early 21st century. Your personal worry, no matter how heavy it feels now, won't be in that book. It will have dissolved into the stream of anonymous human experience. This exercise isn't about dismissing your feelings. It's about giving them context. It puts your story inside the human story, and from that higher place you often find the clarity, the calm to handle what's right in front of you. This isn't about fear, it's about focus. That's the fifth principle, Memento Mori. Remember, you must die. It sounds grim to us now, but for the Stoics it was the opposite. It was a bright light, a tool to cut through the fog, to show you what matters. It's the ultimate perspective, the final form of that view from above. It asks a simple question. Your time is limited. How will you spend it? Marcus Aurelius kept this close. He wrote, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do. What you say, what you think. He didn't mean live in panic. He meant live with intention. The awareness of an ending gives shape to the story. A song without a final note would just drift. A story without a last page loses its tension. Your mortality is that closing note. It's what makes the melody precious. Seneca put it in a way that stings. He said, we are not given a short life, we make it short. We are not poor in time, we are wasteful of it. Life is long enough, he wrote, if you know how to use it. But we lose it in small increments. We put off what matters for a day that may never come. We waste hours on things we won't remember, pleasing people we don't respect, chasing goals that aren't our own. Memento Mori is the alarm clock. It wakes you from that sleepwalking. Think about a deadline. Why does a project get finished the night before it's due? Why does clarity arrive when time is almost up? Because that end point creates value. It forces a decision. It strips away the optional, leaves only the essential. Your mortality is the ultimate deadline, not a threat, the framework that makes your choices meaningful. So here's a prompt, a practical application. If you knew for certain that this week was your last, what would change? Not the dramatic scenes, the quiet, real choices. What trivial concerns would you drop? The need to be right in an argument, the resentment over a small slight, the endless scrolling, and what would you finally take on? That conversation you've been avoiding. The project you called impractical, the simple, present moment with someone you love, fully experienced without your phone in your hand. This practice isn't a daily meditation on an end. It's a daily calibration of your beginnings. When you remember the clock is ticking, you stop wasting its ticks. You trade procrastination for presence. You exchange anxiety for gratitude, for the ordinary morning, the working body, the chance to try again today. It turns the weight of an ending into the energy to live well. Now, what percentage of your conversations are actually necessary or even helpful? It's an uncomfortable thing to ask because it shows a habit. A lot of the time we talk just to fill the silence. To connect over shared frustrations, to feel like we belong. That's the sixth principle. Waste no time on gossip and complaint. For the Stoics, speech was action. Every word you say either builds your character or it wears it down. Idle talk, constant complaining, these are slow leaks. They drain your mental energy into things you can't control. And they shape you. They make you someone who sees the world through a lens of what's lacking, through judgment. Marcus Aurelius put it plainly. He said, "Stop talking about what a good person is like. Just be one." The point is to conserve your energy, to point your words toward what's useful, what's true, what's kind. Gossiping about a coworker's error doesn't fix the error. It just spreads it. Complaining about the weather doesn't change the weather. It just reinforces your own helplessness. Every time you do it, you're practicing. You're practicing seeing yourself as a victim of your circumstances, not as someone who can act within them. Think about 2 coffee breaks. In one, the talk is all about who did what. Who's to blame, how unfair the new policy is. You walk away feeling agitated, connected by the shared negativity, but more tired. In the other break, the talk turns to a problem someone has. Ideas get offered. Maybe someone mentions a useful article. You leave feeling energized, maybe with a new perspective or a practical step to try. The time was the same. The impact on your mind was completely different. The Stoic aim is to make your speech constructive. So you ask, does this need to be said? Is it true? Is it helpful? This isn't about never venting. It's about seeing when venting has become your default, a background noise that pollutes your own peace. So here's a simple challenge. For one day, just monitor your own speech. Carry a mental notepad. Don't judge, just watch. Notice when you slip into complaining about something you can't change. Catch yourself starting to gossip, talking about someone who isn't there in a way you wouldn't if they were. The awareness alone creates a space, and in that space you have a choice. You can redirect, you can ask a better question, you can choose to be silent. When you stop wasting words, you start reclaiming your attention. You begin to hear the difference between noise and signal in the world and in your own mind. The obstacle is the path. That's the 7th principle. Find the lesson in every obstacle. That's where the philosophy becomes practical. It becomes almost athletic. Every barrier you face is a training ground. It's not random bad luck. It's a custom drill for a specific skill your character needs. Patience, courage, humility, creativity. The Stoic shift is moving from asking, "Why is this happening to me?" to asking, "What is this happening to teach me?" Marcus Aurelius wrote about this. He said the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He used the image of fire. Fire makes gold shine brightly, but it consumes straw. The obstacle is the fire. Your character is the metal. The difficulty doesn't create weakness. It reveals it so you can strengthen it, and it tempers what's already strong. A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. The storm is the education. Think about a failed project, one you invested real time and hope into. The immediate story is loss, wasted effort, maybe embarrassment. But if you look for the lesson, you find the curriculum. That failure might be teaching you resilience, how to get up after a setback. It might be a brutal lesson in better planning. in anticipating risks you ignored. It could be teaching you detachment from outcomes, to value the work itself, not just the applause at the end. Success often teaches us very little. It just confirms what we already did. Failure is a ruthless but honest teacher. It shows the cracks, and that's a gift, because now you know exactly where to rebuild. This reframe turns life from a series of unfortunate events into a continuous classroom. A difficult person in your life isn't just a source of frustration. They are your patience coach. A financial constraint isn't just a limit. It's your creativity trainer, forcing you to innovate with less. A sudden change of plans isn't just an inconvenience. It's a drill in adaptability. Your flexibility is being tested, and with each rep, it grows stronger. So here's a small exercise, a powerful one. Identify one current obstacle in your life. It could be anything: a tense relationship, a health challenge, a stalled career move. Now, take a moment and write down one specific virtue this obstacle is testing or teaching you. Is it teaching you patience? Is it demanding courage you didn't know you had? Is it forcing you to be more resourceful? Just naming it changes your relationship to the difficulty. You're no longer just suffering through it. You're a student in a difficult but valuable class. And when you see the obstacle as the path itself, every step forward becomes part of the training. Comfort is the enemy of growth. We all know this somewhere. Our lives are built for ease now. Temperature control, instant food, endless entertainment right here. That ease is a gift, but it has a cost. It makes us soft. It makes us fear anything that disrupts that ease. So there's a principle: practice voluntary discomfort. It's a choice. You step into a small hardship before a big one finds you. Like a vaccine, a tiny, controlled exposure that strengthens your whole system. The Stoics weren't masochists. They weren't seeking pain for its own sake. They were training. They knew a life lived entirely in the soft zone leaves you unprepared for the inevitable shocks. When the real storm hits, you won't have the muscles to stand in it. Seneca understood this. He was a wealthy advisor. He would practice poverty periodically, wear simple clothes, eat plain food, sleep on a hard bed, not because he had to remind himself, to prove to his own mind that his happiness didn't depend on the fine things. He wrote that he did it so he would never fear losing them. He was inoculating himself against fortune's whims. The goal is to discover you're more capable than your comfortable life suggests, that your peace isn't in your thermostat setting or your gourmet meal. It's inside you, and you can access it under harder conditions. So what does this look like now? It doesn't mean selling everything. It means small, intentional disruptions to the routine of ease. Taking a walk in cold weather without complaining, just feeling it, fasting from social media for a day, sitting with the quiet boredom that follows. Choosing the simpler meal, getting up an hour earlier to read before the world wakes up. Any act where you say, I choose this minor hardship to remember I can handle it. Each time you do, you build a little more anti-fragility. You prove to yourself that discomfort is not an emergency. It's just a sensation, and you can move through it with your mind intact. So a simple prompt: for the next 24 hours, choose one small comfort to give up. That second cup of coffee, the warm morning shower, the constant background noise. Just one thing, and as you go through the day, observe your mind. Notice the initial urge, the little voice that says this is unnecessary. Then notice the space that opens up when you don't give in. That space is where your strength lies. It's proof you are not a prisoner of your preferences. You are their master, and that knowledge is a quiet, unshakable power. We've all felt that sting, a look that seems dismissive, a comment that feels sharp, a story told about us that isn't true. It's a reminder of how quickly we can be misunderstood. Now turn it around. What if we tried to stop doing that exact thing to others? That's the 9th principle. Judge less, understand more. It asks you to suspend that automatic verdict your mind wants to deliver. To recognize you're missing most of the evidence, you don't know their history, their private pain, the pressures they woke up with today. Stoic focus is always on your own character, not on policing the world. When you judge someone harshly, you carry the agitation. You're the one whose peace is disturbed. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of this constantly. He wrote that when people act in ways that seem wrong, you have to remember they're acting according to their own reasoning, their own truth, however flawed it might be. He said it's as natural for a wrongdoer to do wrong as it is for a fig tree to bear figs. The point isn't to excuse harmful behavior, it's to see it clearly without the added poison of your personal outrage. Your outrage doesn't correct them, it only corrodes you. Take a common flashpoint, road rage. Someone cuts you off, nearly causing an accident. The immediate, hot judgment is that they're reckless. Selfish, a terrible person, your body tenses, your mood darkens. But what if you paused that story? What if, instead of a verdict, you asked a question? Maybe that driver is rushing to the hospital. Maybe they just received devastating news and aren't fully present. Maybe they made a simple human error, the same kind you've made before. The action itself hasn't changed. Your car still had to brake, but your internal experience changes completely. The anger dissipates, the tension leaves your shoulders. You might even feel a flicker of concern for them. This shift isn't naive, it's strategic. It protects your peace. It conserves the mental energy you would have wasted on resentment. And it opens the door to compassion, which is a far more resilient state than irritation. So here's a small exercise for today. Catch yourself in the act of judging someone. It could be a stranger, a coworker, a family member. Notice the critical thought as it forms, then consciously replace that judgment with a single question. What might be happening in their life that I cannot see? You don't need an answer. The question itself is the practice. It widens the lens. It reminds you that every person is fighting a battle you know nothing about. And in that space of understanding, you find a quieter mind and a far kinder world. A farmer can plant the seed perfectly, but they can't command the rain. That's the 10th principle. Your duty is to act, not to control the outcome. It's a release. So much anxiety comes from a simple mistake. We confuse our job with the universe's job. Our job is to show up, to do the work with focus and integrity. The outcome, the harvest, the recognition, the final score, that belongs to something else. To weather and timing and chance, your power is in the action, not in the reaction it creates. Marcus Aurelius put it a certain way. He said to do every job as if it were your last. In every act, he wrote, ask yourself how it affects you. Will you regret it, but soon you'll be dead and all will be forgotten. He wasn't being morbid. He was cutting to the core. The only thing that lasts from your action is the quality of the action itself, the dignity you brought to it, the focus. The effort, the result gets taken by time, but how you acted in that moment becomes part of your character, forever. This distinction is the cure for perfectionism. Perfectionism is exhausting. It's the attempt to control not just your effort but the world's reception of it. It's trying to command the rain, and when the rain doesn't come, you blame your planting. But the planting was all you ever owned. Think about a job interview. You can research the company, practice your answers, choose your clothes, arrive on time, present yourself with confidence. That is your entire domain, the quality of your preparation and your presence. The outcome, whether the hiring manager had a bad morning, whether another candidate had a connection, whether the budget gets cut, that is the rain. It is not yours. To tie your self-worth to that offer letter is to give a stranger control over your peace. The Stoic approach is to pour yourself into the preparation. Then walk into the room and perform your role, and when you leave, you release it. You did your part. The rest is not your business. This applies everywhere. In creative work, you can love the process of writing or painting, but you cannot control if it becomes popular. In relationships, you can be kind and honest and present, But you cannot control how another person feels. Your duty ends with your own conduct. So here's a question. Where in your life right now are you overly attached to an outcome? A promotion, a certain number on a scale, the approval of a particular person. Now, can you make a shift for 1 week? Focus solely on the quality of your action. Not on the prize you imagine. Prepare for that meeting with excellence, then let go of needing it to go a certain way. Eat the nutritious meal for the feeling of health, not the number. Speak your truth with kindness and release the need for a specific response. When you uncouple your effort from the reward, a strange thing happens. The effort becomes purer, more joyful, and often, ironically, more effective because you're no longer playing from a place of fear. You're acting from a place of integrity. And that is a result you can always guarantee. Your mind is a fortress. You have to ask what you're letting pass the gates. That's the 11th principle. Guard the integrity of your mind. It's the next step. You manage your judgments, you manage your actions. Now you protect where those judgments are formed. Your inner world isn't passive, it's an active ecosystem. What you feed it determines what grows. The Stoics didn't see thoughts as harmless, they saw them as seeds. Plant a seed of envy, it grows into resentment. Plant gratitude, it flowers into contentment. Your soul becomes dyed by the color of its thoughts. Marcus Aurelius wrote that. It's a slow process, a constant one. You are what you consistently think about, so mental hygiene isn't a luxury. It's a duty, a defense of your own peace. It means monitoring that internal dialogue, catching the thoughts that slip in disguised as truth, the ones that whisper you're not enough, that the world is against you, that someone else's success diminishes yours. Those are the corrupting influences. Envy, malice, irrational fear. They don't just visit, they try to take up residence. If you let them, they start redecorating. They paint everything in their own color. Think about the media you consume, the endless scroll of news designed to outrage. The gossip as entertainment. Social media feeds that trigger comparison. That's the modern equivalent, letting strangers into your fortress to shout from the walls. They are coloring your thoughts, feeding you a narrative of conflict, scarcity, anxiety. Contrast that with what nourishes integrity, a book that challenges you to grow, a conversation that deepens understanding, time in nature that reminds you of a larger rhythm, art that inspires. You are choosing the die for your own soul. The practice is simple. It requires vigilance, a nightly audit, not of tasks but of thoughts. Ask yourself, what was the dominant color of my thinking today? Was it the gray of worry, the green of envy, or the clear light of reason? Then trace it back. What input contributed to that shade? So take a mental inventory. Your primary sources of information and entertainment over the last week. The news, the podcasts, the social accounts, the shows. For each one, ask an honest question. Does this source protect and enrich the integrity of my mind, or does it pollute it with negativity, fear, trivial malice? You don't need a grand purge all at once. Just start by noticing. Awareness is the first gatekeeper. When you guard the gates of your mind, you're not building a wall against the world. You're building a sanctuary within it. A place where your character can grow in clear light. Look at a river. The water is never the same. It's a constant flow, a passing through, and your life is like that. This is the 12th principle. Everything is change. You have to embrace impermanence. The universe isn't a fixed stage. It's a dance, a constant transformation. And recognizing that isn't pessimistic. It's actually liberating. It's seeing how things truly are. The suffering happens when we build a house on the riverbank. And we demand the river stop moving. We cling to a moment, a phase in a relationship, a financial status, our health, even a mood. We want to freeze it. Make it permanent, but life isn't a photograph, it's a film. Each frame gives way to the next. Marcus Aurelius thought about this. He wrote that the universe is transformation. That our life is what our thoughts make it. He saw his own body changing every day, his responsibilities shifting, the people around him coming and going. To fight that was to fight reality itself. He'd remind himself to think of all of existence, how everything is born, changes, and passes away, to see yourself as part of that flow, not separate from it. And this acceptance is the foundation of adaptability. When you stop resisting change, you start flowing with it, you become like water. Finding the path around the new obstacle. Think of the seasons. We don't stand in autumn and beg the leaves not to fall. We appreciate the color, knowing winter's quiet comes next. Then the spring, there's a rhythm there, a trust in the cycle. Our careers have seasons too. The energetic, building phase of early adulthood. Then the consolidating, deepening phase of midlife. Then the season of mentorship, of legacy, later on. And resisting the shift from one season to the next creates a friction, a profound friction. The entrepreneur who can't delegate. The artist who fears evolving their style. The parent who struggles as children become adults. The pain is in the clinging, not in the change itself. So here's a prompt. Name one thing you're clinging to right now, something that's inherently subject to change. It might be your role at work, the dynamic in a friendship, your physical fitness, a routine you cherish. Just name it to yourself, and instead of tightening your grip, practice a release, a mental release. Visualize it as a leaf resting in your open palm. You can appreciate its beauty, its presence, but you understand the wind may take it, and if it does, your open hand is ready to receive what comes next. This isn't indifference, it's a deeper appreciation. You love the leaf more because you know it won't be there forever. You live the moment more fully because you know it's already passing. When you embrace impermanence, you stop wasting energy on a battle you can't win. You trade fear of loss for gratitude for the moment, and you find a peace that moves with the current instead of drowning beneath it. Your words are something you spend every day. How much of what you say actually adds value? That's the 13th principle. Speak only what's necessary. And what's true, it's about precision. It's about discipline in your most common act. The way you talk shapes how others see you, but more, it shapes how you see yourself. Exaggeration, gossip, little lies, long excuses, they're not just noise. They're small cracks in your own integrity, and they drain your energy. The Stoics saw speech as an action with real weight. Epictetus had a sharp rule: be silent most of the time, or say only what's necessary, and say it briefly. Before you speak, ask, is this necessary? And if it is, can I use fewer words? The goal is to make your words improve the silence, because often they don't. Think about the last time someone gave you a long excuse for being late. The traffic, the forgotten phone, the unexpected call. It feels like a performance. You sense the strain. Now think of someone who just says, I'm sorry I'm late. I didn't manage my time well. That's it. No drama. That second response carries a different weight. It's honest. It's direct. It builds trust. It shows self-awareness. It shows respect for the other person's time. The first response, with all the extra detail, often does the opposite. It feels like trying to control the story. To avoid judgment, but the judgment it brings is about the story, not the lateness. This practice of concise truth applies everywhere. In feedback, a simple, specific observation is stronger than a flood of vague praise or criticism. In an argument, stating your true feeling without blame cuts through. I felt hurt when that happened. Works better than a long list of everything the other person did wrong. It's about removing the clutter so the signal gets through. So here's a small experiment. Try a speech fast for 1 hour. In that hour, speak only when it's absolutely necessary. And when you do, use only words that are completely true. No embellishment, no gossip, no complaint dressed up as observation, just necessary truth. You'll notice 2 things quickly. First, how often you were about to speak out of habit, not need. The comment that didn't need making. The opinion no one asked for. Second, you'll feel a quiet strength forming. The strength of someone who doesn't need to fill the air to feel secure. Your words become deliberate, and when they're deliberate, they carry power. This discipline of speech isn't about becoming quiet or withdrawn. It's about making sure that when you choose to speak, your words have weight, they're reliable. They reflect a mind that values clarity over chaos, and in that clarity, you find a deeper kind of influence. Your assignment today is to find the good in everyone you meet. That's the 14th principle, see the good in others. It's an active search, a deliberate choice. You look past the surface irritations to locate the virtue that exists in every person. This isn't naive optimism, it's a strategic exercise for your own peace. When you train yourself to spot the good, you disarm your own tendency toward conflict. Your own judgment, you begin to see the world as a place filled with fellow travelers, each carrying their own burdens, their own strengths. Marcus Aurelius practiced this. In his private writings, he would list the admirable qualities of the people around him, even those who challenged him. He'd note one person's loyalty, another's modesty, another's generosity. He did this not to flatter them, but to remind himself of their humanity, to see them as whole people, not merely as obstacles or sources of annoyance. This aligns with the Stoic idea of universal reason, the belief that a spark of the same rational nature exists in everyone. When someone acts poorly, it's because that spark is clouded by ignorance or pain, not because they are inherently bad. Your job is to look for the spark, not just the cloud. Think about a difficult person in your life, a co-worker who is overly critical, a relative who is always negative. Your instinct is to build a case against them, to collect every slight, every irritating habit. That case becomes a wall, and you're the one living behind it. In a smaller, more agitated world, now try the opposite. Make it your private mission to find one genuinely admirable quality in them. Maybe that critical coworker has an incredible eye for detail, that it catches costly mistakes. Perhaps that negative relative has a deep, unwavering loyalty to family. Even if it's expressed through worry, you're not excusing their difficult behavior. You're simply adding a dimension. You're seeing the whole person, and when you see the whole person, your reaction softens, the friction loses its edge. You might even feel a flicker of compassion. This practice fosters a profound gratitude. It shifts your focus from what people lack to what they contribute. However imperfectly, it makes your social world feel richer, less hostile. So here is a reflective prompt. Think of someone you currently have friction with. In your mind right now, list 3 positive traits they possess. They don't have to be grand. It could be their punctuality, their work ethic, their dedication to a hobby, their ability to make others laugh. Just 3 things. Feel how that simple act of listing changes your internal posture toward them. The conflict hasn't vanished, but your heart is a little more open, and an open heart is far stronger, far more resilient than a fortified one. You can only act now. That's the 15th principle. The present moment is all you have. It's where your life is actually happening. Everything else is memory or speculation. Anxiety is rehearsing a future that might not come. Regret is a museum for a past you can't change. Both pull you out of the only arena where you have any power, the here and now. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this. He told himself to confine himself to the present. You could leave life right now, he wrote. Let that determine what you do and say and think. He wasn't being morbid. He was pointing to the urgency of the current moment. Your whole capacity for action, for joy, for connection exists in this slice of time, not in the story about what was or the script for what might be. Real power isn't controlling the future, it's fully inhabiting the present. It's where your attention lives, and where your attention goes, your energy flows. Think about drinking tea. Usually you hold the warm mug while your mind is somewhere else, planning the next thing, replaying a conversation. The tea becomes background noise. Just a fuel delivery, you miss the whole experience, the aroma, the warmth in your hands, the shift in flavor as it cools. Now imagine drinking that same cup with your full attention. Feeling the heat in your palms, watching the steam curl, tasting each sip without the internal commentary. That simple act becomes rich, it becomes an anchor. It pulls you out of the mental whirlwind and into your body, into reality. The same is true for listening. How often do we half listen, already forming our reply before the other person is done? We're not in the conversation, we're in a future version of it where we sound clever. We miss the nuance in their voice, the unspoken emotion. We miss the connection. Full presence is the greatest gift you can give to yourself and to others. It turns ordinary moments into experiences, and it builds a mental muscle. The muscle of focus. So here's a practical prompt. For the next 5 minutes, choose one simple activity. Washing your hands, feeling the water temperature, the texture of the soap. Or looking out a window, noticing the shapes of clouds, the movement of leaves. Or listening to a piece of music, hearing each instrument without labeling it. For those 5 minutes, your only job is to be completely there. When your mind wanders, and it will, gently guide it back to the sensory details. Don't judge the wandering. Just return, notice what happens. The mental chatter may quiet, the sense of time might stretch. A small, quiet peace may settle in. That peace is always available. It's not in the next achievement, it's in the texture of this breath, the quality of this light, the reality of this single, fleeting, and utterly precious now. Who you are when nobody's watching, that's the 16th principle. Letting go of needing approval from outside. Your worth isn't in the applause, it's in the quiet of your own actions. The Stoics saw chasing approval as a trap, a source of endless anxiety, because you're handing your self-esteem to a jury you can never satisfy, and their verdict changes with the wind. Real freedom comes from being your own judge. Your satisfaction has to come from living well, from acting with virtue, not from rewards that might or might not come. Seneca wrote about this. He called the love of applause a poison. Said we're so addicted to approval, we fear virtue if it goes unnoticed. We live for others' opinions, he warned, and forget to live for ourselves. We twist ourselves to please the crowd and then wonder why we feel hollow. The goal is to untangle your sense of self from that noise, to find a deeper source of validation. One no one can give you and no one can take away. Think about 2 ways to spend an evening. One is crafting a social media post. You take the perfect photo, write a clever caption. You post it and then you wait. You check for likes, for comments. Your mood rises and falls with each notification, or the lack of them. The other is spending that evening on a private hobby. Learning a piece of music, sketching in a notebook, writing in a journal, reading a challenging book. There's no audience, no performance, just the engagement of the activity itself. The first leaves you dependent. Your enjoyment is conditional on others' reactions. The second fosters independence. The joy is in the doing, in the subtle progress only you can feel. That's the shift from performing your life to living it. So here's a challenge. Today, do something genuinely good, something kind or helpful or constructive. And tell no one. Hold the door for a stranger with a smile. Send an encouraging message without expecting a reply. Complete a task with exceptional care, knowing your boss may never see the detail. And then keep it to yourself. Let the act be its own reward. Notice the feeling that creates. It's a quiet, solid satisfaction. It doesn't need to be broadcast to be real. Its power grows in the silence. When you stop seeking validation from outside, you start building a core of self-respect that can't be shaken. You become the person you are when no one is watching. And that person is the only one you have to live with forever. The feeling of being separate, it's an illusion, a modern one. You're not an island, you're a piece of the continent. And there's a Stoic principle for that, Sympatheia. It means interconnectedness, the idea that you're part of a single, living system, woven into the fabric of everything. Humanity, nature, the cosmos, and it's not just poetry, it's a practical foundation for ethics, for compassion, because when you feel that connection, your actions change. You see the ripples, your choices matter beyond your own front door. Marcus Aurelius thought about this. He wrote that we're made for cooperation, like feet, like hands. He saw all rational beings as branches of one tree. The health of one branch affects the whole, so if you harm another, you're harming a part of your own greater self. And this sense of belonging, it counters loneliness. It replaces isolation with a quiet duty, a duty to contribute to the whole, however small your part seems. Take a local cleanup. A community picks up trash in a park. You grab one piece of plastic. It feels small, but it connects to a vast system. That plastic won't choke a bird now. It won't break down and enter the water. In a tiny way, it contributes to the health of an ecosystem you're part of. That action is a vote for the kind of world you want. Or kindness, holding a door for a stranger who looks tired. That small gesture of respect might lift their mood just enough. They might go home and speak more patiently to their child. And that child carries that calm forward. The ripple spreads. You're part of that chain. Your moral duty isn't from an abstract rulebook. It comes from this simple truth. You are connected, so your well-being is tied to the well-being of the whole. This reframes hardship too. A challenge you face isn't just your private burden. It's a human experience. Others have faced it, are facing it now. That shared reality can be a source of strength. So for today, just look at your planned actions. How can one thing you do consciously reflect your connection to a larger community, to a system? Could you choose a product with less packaging, acknowledging your link to the planet's health? Could you offer genuine thanks to a service worker, recognizing your shared role in the community's function? Just one intentional act, done with the awareness that you are a piece of the continent. Not an island. Anger is an acid. It damages the vessel that holds it. That's the 18th principle. The Stoics saw anger as a temporary madness, a complete loss of reason. And reason is your highest faculty. It's your guiding light. When anger takes over, you're in the dark. You're a ship with no captain, just a storm. Seneca wrote an entire essay on this. He called it On Anger. He argued that no great thing was ever achieved by anger. He called it a brief insanity. It can feel powerful, that surge of heat. That righteous energy, but it's a liar. It promises control while it strips you of control. It promises justice while it creates more harm. The goal is to see it for what it is. An irrational passion, and to dissolve it with observation, with delay. Think about the last time you sent an angry message, maybe a text, maybe an email. In the moment, the words felt justified, necessary. You hit send with a sense of release, but later, after the heat faded, what was left? Often a knot of regret, a mess to clean up, a relationship now strained. The problem you were angry about is still there, but now it's buried under the rubble of your own reaction. Now think of a different path. You feel the anger rise. You recognize the signal. Your heart beats faster. Your jaw tightens. But instead of reaching for the keyboard, you stand up. You take a walk. You wait. You let 10 minutes pass. In that space, something shifts. The initial flood of emotion recedes, and from the quieter waters, reason can speak. Now you can craft a response, not from blame, from clarity. What do I actually want to achieve here? What's the most effective way to address this? The action is the same. You still address the issue, but the quality of the action is transformed. One creates collateral damage, the other builds respect, even in disagreement. Seneca offered a practical technique. When you feel anger rising, force a pause, change your expression, relax your face, slow your breathing, speak in a softer tone. Your body state influences your mind. By deliberately calming the physical symptoms, you create room room for the mental storm to settle. It's a way of telling your nervous system this is not an emergency. This is a problem to be solved, not a threat to be attacked. So here's a simple rule, the 10-minute delay. When you feel that familiar heat of anger toward a person, a situation, even yourself, impose a mandatory wait. Do not act, do not speak. If you must, write the angry message in a notes app you won't send. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Use that time to move your body. Wash your hands with cold water. Look out a window when the timer goes off. Check in. Is the impulse just as strong? Is the planned action still the wisest one? You'll find that most of the time, the urgent need to react has evaporated. What remains is the actual issue, and you can approach it with your mind, not your temper. This small discipline protects your peace. It protects your relationships, and it slowly rewires the habit. It teaches you that you are not your anger. You are the observer, the one who can choose to let it pass. Are you the person who talks about discipline, or the one who actually does the disciplined thing? That space between the two, that's the 19th principle. You define yourself by what you do, not by what you think. That's where identity becomes real. It's moving from the story in your head to the evidence you leave in the world. Your character isn't a set of beliefs. It's the record of your choices, the ones you keep making. Stoicism is a philosophy of action. It always values the concrete deed over the abstract idea because talk is cheap. Holding an opinion costs nothing. Living by it costs effort, and that effort is what shapes you. Epictetus was direct about this. He said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." If you call yourself a philosopher, he said, be ready to be examined. Not on your words, but on your life, how you eat, how you dress, how you handle disappointment. Your actions are the only proof. This closes the gap. The gap between how you see yourself and what's actually true. You might think you're a patient person, but if you snap at every small delay, it's the action that defines you. Not the story, the action is the truth. Consider two people talking about health. One argues passionately for clean eating. They post articles, they debate nutrition science. But their own habits are erratic. Sugary snacks, skipped meals, no consistent movement. The other person says very little, but each morning they choose a simple, nutritious breakfast. They take a walk most days. They go to sleep at a reasonable hour. Which person embodies health? The answer is clear. The quiet action carries more weight than the loud opinion. It's the doing that builds the muscle, not the talking about it. So here's a prompt, a reflective one. Take a moment, list 3 core values you hold. Maybe integrity, kindness, resilience. Now for each one, ask yourself this. What is one specific action I took this week that demonstrated it? Not a thought, not an intention. A concrete deed. For integrity, did you return extra change a cashier gave you by mistake? For kindness, did you listen to a friend fully, without cutting in to share your own story? For resilience, did you get back to a task after a setback instead of quitting for the day? If you find a gap, a value with no recent action to support it, that's not a failure. It's a map. It shows you where your next step is. Your identity is under construction every single day, and you are the builder. The materials are your actions. Choose them with care, and the person you become won't need any explanation. The quietest room you'll ever find is inside your own mind. It's a place nothing outside can reach unless you open the door. That's the 20th principle. Withdraw into yourself to find peace. It's not about running away. It's about building an inner sanctuary, a citadel of calm you can retreat to instantly, no matter what's happening. The Stoics called it the inner citadel, a fortress of your own reason and character. Its walls are built from your judgments, your values, and inside it's always quiet. Marcus Aurelius practiced this. He wrote that people look for retreats in the country, by the sea, but you can retreat into your own soul at any time. He said nowhere can a person find a more peaceful retreat than in his own mind. especially if he has thoughts he can look at and find complete calm. That's the goal. Not to escape life, but to have a home base, a place of clarity to return from, refreshed. The outside world is full of noise, demands, opinions, alarms. It's easy to think peace is out there somewhere, in a vacation, a purchase, but those are temporary, they're borrowed quiet. The inner citadel is permanent. You carry it with you in a traffic jam, in a crowded office. You can step inside, take a breath, and remember who you are, separate from the chaos. Think of a stressful workday. Deadlines looming, emails piling up. The usual reaction is to seek a distraction. Scroll through your phone, grab another coffee. That just adds more noise. The Stoic retreat is the opposite. You close your eyes for 60 seconds. You shut out the visual clutter. You turn your attention inward. You focus on the sensation of your breath. In and out, you don't try to solve anything. You just observe the storm from inside the sturdy walls. When you open your eyes, the situation hasn't changed. But you're calmer, more centered. The problems feel more manageable because you're no longer drowning in them. You're observing from a place of strength. So here's a small experiment. Find a chair, sit down, set a timer for 3 minutes, close your eyes. Your only task is to pay attention to your breathing. Don't try to control it, just feel the air moving in and out of your nose. Notice the rise and fall of your chest. Your mind will wander. It will jump to your to-do list, to a worry. That's normal. Each time you notice it has wandered, gently, without judgment, guide your focus back to your breath. That act of noticing and returning is the practice. It's the muscle you're building, the muscle of inner retreat. At the end of 3 minutes, you won't have solved any external problems, but you will have touched that quiet room. You'll have proven it exists, and that knowledge that you can access peace at will is a superpower. A fig tree doesn't produce olives. You wouldn't get angry at it for that. It's just a fact, and that's the principle. Accept people as they are. Stop trying to change them. Stop being frustrated by their flaws. They are a product of their nature, their upbringing. A fig tree bears figs. A person acts from their own reasoning, their own history. Your peace comes from accepting that. It comes from focusing on your own reaction. This is the dichotomy of control with other people. You can't control another person's character, their habits, their opinions. You can only control your judgment of them. Your response, when you stop fighting their nature, the conflict drains away. Frustration becomes tolerance, not resignation. It's an active, clear-eyed understanding. A strategic choice for your own mind. Marcus Aurelius prepared for this every day. He wrote that when you wake up, tell yourself the people you meet will be meddling. Ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, surly. He said they are like this because they can't tell good from evil. But then he made a shift. He said, I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil. I've recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own, so none of them can hurt me. No one can draw me into ugliness. I can't feel angry at my relative or hate him. We were born to work together. That preparation wasn't cynical, it was realistic. He set his expectations at ground level, so he wouldn't be shocked by human frailty. And that created room to be pleasantly surprised when people rose above it. Think of a family member who's always late. Every gathering you wait. The old pattern is to fight it. To lecture them about respect, to get agitated as the clock ticks. It ruins your mood before anything begins. You're trying to make a fig tree produce olives. Acceptance is different. You acknowledge this is their trait, part of their makeup, so you plan accordingly. You tell them the event starts 30 minutes earlier. Or you bring a book and enjoy the quiet time if they're late. Or you decide their company when they arrive is worth the wait. You let go of the resentment. You haven't changed them, you've changed your approach. You've taken control of the only thing you ever could, your own experience. This applies to deeper patterns. A friend who's always pessimistic, a colleague who takes credit for shared work. You can choose a futile campaign to change their outlook. It will exhaust you and alienate them. Or you can accept this is their current mode of operation. From that acceptance, you can set boundaries, limit your exposure to their negativity, document your contributions clearly. You manage your interaction, not their personality. So here's a question. Who is one person you constantly try to change? A partner, a parent, a friend? What behavior do you wish were different? Now ask a new question. What if you fully accepted that trait in them today, not approved of it, just accepted it as a fact like the weather? How would your energy shift? What creative, peaceful response could you design instead of the same old argument? When you stop pouring energy into reshaping others, you free up a tremendous reserve. A reserve you can use to build your own character, your own peace, your own life, and often, that quiet acceptance is the very thing that creates space for others to change on their own. You have a limited number of days. How many of them will you spend on autopilot? That's the principle. Life is short, so you have to act like it is. It's the active version of Memento Mori. That one was about perspective. This one is about propulsion. It's the push to move, to stop planning and just start, to stop waiting for the perfect moment and work with the moment you have. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this. He said the problem isn't that you have a short time to live, it's that you waste so much of it. He said life is long enough if you know how to use it. But we lose it. We lose it in little pieces, in the space between thinking about doing something and actually doing it. We act like our days are an infinite resource. We tell ourselves we'll start tomorrow, we'll reach out next month, we'll chase that dream when things calm down, but things don't calm down. Life is what's happening while you're making those plans. This idea asks you to see time as your most valuable currency, the kind you can't get more of, and to spend it like you would a limited fortune, not on trivial things, but on what builds a life you won't look back on with regret. Think about a normal evening. One option is to come home tired, open an app and just scroll. An hour goes by, then another. You were entertained, maybe. But you weren't enriched. You didn't create anything. You didn't connect with anyone in a real way. You didn't move toward anything you care about. The time is just gone. It's spent. The other path is to choose something else, to take that same hour and put it into a small piece of a personal project, writing a page of a story, learning a chord on a guitar, or having a real conversation with the phones away, just listening to someone talk about their day. That hour is invested. It adds a brick to the structure of your life. It compounds. The point isn't to be productive every single second. It's about intention. It's about choosing, more often than not, the action that lines up with what you value, instead of the one that just passes the time. So here's a prompt. Look at your week ahead. Find one thing you do regularly that feels like a waste of time. Maybe it's that late night scrolling, or getting pulled into online arguments, or watching shows out of habit that you don't even enjoy. Then pick one meaningful thing to replace it with, just once this week. It could be reading a chapter of a book that makes you think, calling a friend you've lost touch with, spending 30 minutes on a skill you want to learn. The goal isn't to pack every moment with achievement. It's to prove to yourself that you're the one writing your time, that you can steer it from the shallow end into deeper water. When you act knowing your days are numbered, you stop just counting them idly. You start to live them. You hold yourself to one standard and you hold others to a different one, a kinder one. That's the principle. Be strict with yourself, tolerant with everyone else. It's a double standard, but it's deliberate. You set the highest bar for your own actions, for your own discipline, and then you apply a forgiving, generous standard to the people around you. This isn't about ignoring wrong things. It's about focus. Your energy for judgment is limited. If you use it up judging other people, you have less left for your own improvement. And that's where your real power is. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this. He said to be rigorous with yourself, be lenient when judging your neighbor. He saw focusing on other people's faults as a trap. It leads to hypocrisy, it breeds resentment, and both of those things poison your own peace. Because when you criticize someone for a flaw, you're often overlooking that same flaw in yourself. Or you're holding them to a standard you couldn't meet, not in their situation. Think about a common frustration. Someone's late to a meeting. You feel that irritation. You think they're being disrespectful, that they don't value your time. Now flip it. Think of the last time you were late. What was your story? The traffic was impossible. An urgent call came in, a family issue needed you. You gave yourself the benefit of the doubt. You had a reason, a context. The other person in your mind was just irresponsible. This principle asks you to extend that same generous interpretation to them. Assume they have a context you can't see. Assume they're doing their best with the day they're having. This doesn't mean you ignore repeated problems. It means you address the issue without the added heat of judging their character. You deal with the action, not the person. Your strictness with yourself is what counts. Are you managing your time well? Are you communicating clearly? That's your domain. That's where you have control. So here's a prompt. Think back over the last few days. Pick one specific time you felt critical of someone. A coworker who missed a detail. A family member who forgot something. An aggressive driver. Hold that thought and ask one honest question. When was the last time I did something similar? Maybe not the exact same thing, but in spirit. Have I ever been distracted and made a mistake? Have I ever forgotten something when I was overwhelmed? Have I ever reacted poorly under stress? Just sit with that comparison. The goal isn't guilt, it's to build a bridge of understanding, to replace criticism with a humbling sense of shared humanity. When you're strict with yourself, you grow. When you're tolerant with others, you connect, and in that balance you find a quieter, stronger way to move, a sudden opening, a chance meeting, or an offer you didn't see coming. A moment where things just line up. We'd call that luck, but that's rarely the whole story. What looks like pure chance to someone else is often just preparation meeting a moment. That's the principle. Fortune favors the prepared mind. The Stoics saw luck not as some random force, but as a kind of harvest. You plant the seeds, character, skill. You plant them long before you ever see the fruit. Then, when a moment of opportunity arrives, you're ready to see it, and you have the capacity to act. Seneca put it perfectly. He said luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. The preparation is your work. The opportunity is the world's offering. Your readiness is the link, the Stoic daily practice, virtue, clarity, discipline. That's the preparation. It's not about hoping for a lucky break. It's about building a person who can handle a break when it comes. Someone who can see it for what it is and not let fear or confusion get in the way. Think of two people seeing a medical emergency. One person panics, freezes, feels helpless. The other steps forward, calls for help, begins basic aid. To an observer, that second person might seem lucky to have that presence of mind. But that luck was built. It was built through a habit of calm, maybe through a first aid course taken on a random Tuesday, through a cultivated willingness to act. The moment of crisis didn't give them courage. It revealed the courage they had already stored. Or consider finances. Someone gets a chance to invest in something promising. They have the funds available because they've lived below their means for years. They've practiced that financial discipline. To others, it looks like they just had money sitting there. Lucky them, but that liquidity was a choice, a long series of small, disciplined choices. The opportunity was the spark. The prepared financial mindset was the tinder, ready to catch it. This reframes envy. When you see someone else's lucky success, look for the preparation, the skills they honed in obscurity, the rejections they faced and learned from. The character they built when no one was watching. Their luck is the visible tip of a very large submerged iceberg of effort. So here's a prompt. Identify one area where you wish you were luckier. Maybe in your career, finding a better role, or in relationships, meeting the right people, or in creative work, getting a break. Now ask this: what is one specific way you can prepare your mind or your skills for that luck? If it's career luck, is it preparing by deepening a relevant skill, even 30 minutes a day? If it's relational luck, is it preparing by becoming a better listener? A more engaged person, so you're someone others want to connect with. Name one preparatory action. When you do this, you stop waiting for the wind to change. You start building a sail, and when the wind does come, you'll be ready to move. The thing that's in your way, that's actually showing you the way, that's the principle. It's a deeper version of something earlier. It's not just about learning a lesson from the obstacle. It's about seeing the obstacle itself as the material you need. The barrier isn't a detour, it is the main road. That's what Marcus Aurelius meant. He wrote that the impediment to action advances the action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He saw every limitation, every opposition as a tool for a sculptor. It chips away what's unnecessary. It reveals the stronger form underneath. A constraint forces a new kind of thinking. It demands a creativity you wouldn't have needed otherwise. When the easy path is closed, you find a more interesting one. That's how opposition builds the exact strength you need. Think of a river hitting a boulder. The water doesn't stop. It finds a way around or over or through, and in doing that, it carves a canyon. Its power is defined by the resistance it meets. Your growth works the same. A writer gets a stream of rejections from publishers. The obstacle is clear. The gatekeepers say no. The old path is blocked. But that blockage forces a new approach. The writer decides to self-publish, to build an audience online directly. They learn marketing. They engage with readers. They keep creative control. The obstacle of rejection didn't just teach a lesson. It became the direct catalyst for a more authentic career. The barrier was the way. Or an athlete. An athlete gets an injury that stops them from their main sport. The obstacle looks like an ending, but during rehab, they discover a focus on mental training. On strategy, a deeper appreciation for movement. They come back not just healed, but with a sharper mindset. The injury, the obstacle, became the precise tool that made a better competitor. It wasn't a setback to get past, it was the curriculum. So here's a prompt. Name your main obstacle right now, the one that feels like a wall. Got it? Now, instead of asking how to get past it, ask a different question. How could this obstacle be used as a direct tool? If it's a lack of resources, how does that scarcity force smarter solutions? If it's a difficult person, how does that resistance train your patience in a way an easy relationship couldn't? Brainstorm one concrete way the obstacle itself gives you the leverage you need. When you make that shift, you stop seeing life as a series of problems. You start seeing it as a workshop, and every piece of material you're given, especially the rough, stubborn pieces, is exactly what you need to build something. You can see, you can breathe, you can think. The miracle is in the mundane. That's the 26th principle. Practice gratitude for the ordinary. It's a deliberate choice. To find wonder in what works, in the background hum of a functioning life. The Stoics saw this as a direct antidote to a common trap, hedonic adaptation. The tendency to get used to good things, to take them for granted the moment we have them. A new phone brings joy for a week, then it's just a phone. A promotion excites us for a month, then it's just the new normal with new problems. Our baseline of expectation rises, and we have to chase the next new thing to feel that spark again. It's a treadmill. Gratitude for the ordinary steps off that treadmill. It resets your baseline to a place of abundance by finding the extraordinary in what you already have. Marcus Aurelius began his days with this. He wrote a morning meditation. Today I shall be meeting with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. He prepared for human challenges, but first he grounded himself in gratitude. he'd reflect on the gift of his own mind, the fact that he could think, that he could perceive and understand. He'd think of his body not as perfect but as functional, a vessel that allowed him to move through the world. He saw these not as entitlements but as temporary loans from nature, loans to be appreciated while he had them. This practice built a foundation of contentment no external event could easily shake. Think about the last time you were sick, a simple cold, your nose was stuffed, your throat was sore, you couldn't taste food. In that state, what did you want more than anything? Just to breathe clearly again, to swallow without pain, to taste your morning coffee. Those ordinary functions became the ultimate desires, and when you recovered for a day or two, you felt a quiet joy in them. Then, inevitably, they faded back into the background. They became invisible again. The practice of gratitude is the effort to keep them visible, to not let the background become invisible. So what does this look like in practice? It's a shift in what you notice. It's feeling the warmth of a mug in your hands and taking a second to appreciate that you have hands that can feel warmth. It's the quiet hum of a refrigerator and feeling a flicker of thanks for the preservation of your food. It's the fact that your legs carried you from your bed to the kitchen without pain. That your eyes decoded these words on a screen. These are not small things. They are the fundamental infrastructure of your existence. When you appreciate the infrastructure, the whole experience of living feels more stable, more gifted. Here's a simple exercise, a powerful one. Right now, as you listen, write down 3 ordinary things, 3 things you are profoundly grateful for in this very moment. Don't reach for the big, obvious ones. Dig into the mundane, the pressure of the floor supporting your weight, the ability to hear the tone of this voice, the clean water that came from your tap today. Write them down, say them to yourself, feel the texture of that gratitude. It's not a flashy emotion, it's a deep, steady warmth. Like a furnace in the basement of your mind, it quietly heats the whole house. When you cultivate this daily, you build a reserve of contentment, so that when the extraordinary joys come, you enjoy them fully. And when they leave, you are not left in darkness. You are still standing in the steady, grateful light of an ordinary day. Long after everything you own is gone, what stays behind in the minds of other people? That's the quiet question here. Your character is your legacy, not the wealth, not the titles. Those things are external. They get passed on or sold or just forgotten. But the quality of your character, the echo of what you did, that's what actually lasts. It's the one thing you build that can't be taken from you, and it becomes the inheritance you leave in the world long after you're gone. The Stoics moved the entire goal of life to this internal project. Epictetus said it clearly. He said, "Be concerned not with what is said about you, but with what you are." Work to be a person of good character, and if you manage that, then you can be satisfied. That's the ultimate investment. While other people are busy decorating their external lives, you're fortifying your internal one. Your character is the foundation. Everything else rests on it. Your reputation, your relationships, your peace. A weak foundation means a shaky life, no matter how good the surface looks. Think about 2 lives lived side by side. One person spends their energy acquiring things, the fine house, the latest car, the perfect image. They might be remembered for their taste, for their success. But over time, those possessions disperse. The house gets sold, the car becomes obsolete, the image fades. What's left is a vague memory of affluence. Now contrast that with a person who focuses on building character. They cultivate integrity, kindness, courage in small, daily acts. They're remembered not for what they had, but for how they made others feel. For the trust they inspired, for the quiet strength they offered when it was needed. That legacy doesn't fade, it gets carried forward. A child who learned patience from a parent teaches it to their own child. A colleague inspired by someone's fair dealing chooses to act with more fairness themselves. A virtuous character creates a ripple that moves through generations, often without anyone even knowing where it started. So here's a reflective prompt. If your character were described in one single word by the people closest to you, your family, your friends, what word would you want it to be? Would it be kind, reliable, courageous? Just hold that word in your mind. Now ask the harder, more honest question. Does your current behavior in your most ordinary moments align with that word? When you're tired or stressed or unseen, do your actions still point toward that ideal? This isn't about perfection. It's about direction. Every choice, especially the small, private ones, is a brick in the structure of your character. You're the architect laying them one by one, and that structure, more than any monument of stone, is what will actually stand the test of time. A single step can feel small. Unless you know it's part of a pilgrimage, that's the principle. You have to think about the whole journey, not just the step. Your daily life is full of steps. Some are monotonous, some feel like setbacks, and without a sense of the destination, the path itself can feel pointless. But this awareness, it provides the context. It turns chores into contributions. It transforms obstacles into necessary miles on the map. The Stoic practice is to constantly reconnect your small actions to your larger purpose. To see the arc of your life, not just the dot of the present moment. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of this. He wrote that you must keep in mind the whole of existence, the whole of time. To think of each thing, what is it in its nature and what is it in the whole? He would pull his perspective up, away from the petty frustration of the day, and see his role in the vast order of things. That shift didn't make his work trivial, it made it meaningful. It showed him how his duty, however difficult, fit into a larger pattern. A pattern of service, of reason, of contributing to the whole. This is the antidote to feeling stuck. When you're deep in a tedious task, it's all you can see. The data entry, the laundry, the long commute. It feels like your entire world. But if you zoom out, you see that task as one thread in a much larger tapestry. That data entry supports a project that helps people. That laundry cares for a family you love. That commute is the price of a home that provides safety. The step isn't the journey, it's how the journey gets made. So let's make this practical. Think of the most routine part of your work. Something you do almost automatically. Maybe it's responding to standard emails or attending a weekly meeting that often feels repetitive. Now, connect that single step to the whole journey. How does that email chain keep a promise to a client, building trust for future collaboration? How does that meeting, even when it meanders, maintain the alignment of a team working toward a shared goal? The action is the same, but the meaning you assign to it changes everything. It infuses the mundane with dignity. It gives you a reason to do it well, not just to get it done. This perspective is also your shield against discouragement. A rejection, a failed project, a harsh critique, these feel like dead ends when you're standing right in front of them. But if you see your life as a long trek, you recognize this as just one steep pass, a difficult stretch of the trail, but not the end of the path. You keep walking because the destination is still ahead. So here's a reflective prompt. Can you articulate your own whole journey, your overarching life aim in one single sentence? Not a detailed 5-year plan, but the core purpose that guides your choices. It might be to raise kind and curious children, to create work that solves a meaningful problem, to live with integrity and help others do the same, to learn deeply and share that knowledge. Take a moment, form that sentence in your mind, write it down if you can. That sentence is your compass. When a step feels pointless or painful, look at your compass. Remember the direction you're headed. It won't make the step easy, but it will make it meaningful. And a life of meaningful steps, no matter how ordinary they seem, is a life of profound purpose. This is the 29th principle. Silence is a strength. It's a choice you make. It's not about not speaking. It's about restraint in an argument, in grief. When things are uncertain, holding your words shows composure. It shows a mind that's thinking, not just reacting. The Stoics valued this. they saw the person who could stay silent as the one in command. Because silence creates space to see what's actually happening, not what you assume is happening, space to choose your words carefully instead of the first emotional reply. That pause keeps you from misspeaking. It keeps you from saying something you'll have to fix later, and in that pause you show a quiet confidence. You show that your peace doesn't need the last word. That your worth isn't tied to how loud you are. This isn't passive. It's an active discipline, a strategic use of energy. Marcus Aurelius practiced this. He wrote about being slow to speak. He reminded himself we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, to listen more than we talk. The Stoic ideal is the reserved person. Their words are few, but they carry weight because they're considered, they're necessary. Think about an awkward pause in conversation. The instinct is to fill it. To say anything to break the tension. That chatter is nervous energy. It shows discomfort. Now imagine sitting in that pause comfortably, letting it breathe. Often, the other person will offer something more genuine in that quiet. Your silence invited depth or a heated argument. Someone says something to provoke you. To get a reaction, the powerful response isn't a clever retort. It's silence, a calm, steady look. By not retaliating, you refuse to enter their arena. You break the cycle. Your silence becomes a wall their anger can't climb. It protects your peace, and it often deflates their aggression because it has nothing to fight. So here's a practice. In your next meal alone or your next meeting, commit to the first 5 minutes of silence. Don't plan what you'll say. Don't comment. Just be present, observe, listen to the sounds around you, notice the body language, watch your own thoughts as they come up without giving them voice. This trains the muscle of restraint. It teaches you that you are not your thoughts. You are not compelled to voice them. In that quiet, you reclaim a kind of power. The power to respond from choice, not from compulsion. This isn't a history lesson. It's an operating system. That's the 30th principle. Philosophy is a way of life, not a theory, and this is where it all comes together. All the other principles, they aren't just ideas, they're tools for the workshop of your daily life. The goal was never just information. It was transformation, a reshaping from the inside out. Stoicism is a practice, like learning an instrument. You don't become fluent by reading the book once. You become fluent by using the words every day, by hitting the wrong notes until they start to sound right. Epictetus was blunt about this. He warned against philosophers whose actions didn't match their words. What good is a philosopher, he asked, who knows all the arguments but hasn't applied them to their own soul? They're like a person who reads a book on medicine but never uses it to treat their own illness. The learning is pointless if it doesn't lead to healing. To change, that's the test, not what you know, but how you live. The value here isn't in memorizing 30 principles. It's in applying one deliberately, consistently. Practicing the dichotomy of control for a week changes your stress more than admiring all 30 ever could. Committing to Memento Mori for 7 days reshapes your priorities more than any lecture. The philosophy lies in the small choices. When you feel anger rise and you choose the 10-minute delay. When you catch yourself complaining and you redirect your speech. In the daily decision to find the good in a difficult person or to accept what you cannot change. This is the work. It's not glamorous. It often goes unseen, but it's how you build that life, the resilient one, the clear-minded one. So here's a practical prompt. Look back over the 30 principles. Let your mind rest on them. Which one resonated most? Which one felt like it addressed a specific friction in your own life? Maybe it was accepting people as they are, or guarding your mind, or seeing the obstacle as the path. Choose just one, not the one you think you should choose. The one that truly speaks to you. Now make a simple commitment. For the next 7 days, you will practice that single principle with deliberate awareness. You will look for opportunities to apply it. You will notice when you forget, and you will gently begin again. Keep a small note private. What did you observe? How did applying this principle change a situation? How did it change your internal weather? That week of practice will teach you more about Stoicism than any script. More about yourself. It turns philosophy from a theory into your lived experience, and that's where a reshaped mindset begins. The path through these principles isn't something you finish. It's more like a compass you keep with you. It points toward one central idea, that reshaping your mindset is a continuous practice. It's the daily choice to return to the tools, to master how you see things, to focus your action on what you can actually control, and to build a character that endures. That's the work of a lifetime. It's not a weekend project. The noise of the world, that's always going to be there. The unexpected will always arrive, but your internal citadel, built brick by brick through these practices, that becomes a place of unshakable calm. You've seen the core themes. The power lies not in the event, but in your judgment of it. Your freedom is in the circle of your own actions, not in wrestling with what you can't control. And your legacy is the resilient character you forge in the fire of daily life. Marcus Aurelius had a final thought on where this leads. He wrote that the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts, and that you have power over your thoughts. So take away what isn't useful, and you'll have room for what is. True happiness, the Stoic kind, is aligning your thoughts with nature and reason. It's the quiet contentment of a mind at peace with itself and its place in the world. I'd encourage you to revisit these principles. Bookmark this. Return to one idea when you face a specific challenge. Let them be your mental toolkit, your daily guide. So a question as we close: which of these 30 principles will you choose to implement first? Which one spoke directly to a friction in your own life? Make that commitment to yourself. Start with one, practice it for a week, observe the subtle shift it creates, and if you found value in this, consider subscribing. We explore more practical philosophy here, turning ancient wisdom into tools for modern life. Share your own experiences in the comments. Which principle resonated most? What challenges are you applying it to? In sharing, we build a community of practice, a quiet corner of the internet dedicated not just to thinking, but to living well. Thank you for walking through this. The path to a reshaped mind is always right here, in your next choice, in your very next breath.